Hello, welcome to JIBRIN ANGLE on Oweleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. We have today, as always, Barrister Austin Manta as our regular and special guest. He's a very senior lawyer, and he is also a senior public analyst or current affairs analyst. We are here today. We shall be talking about several issues that has to do with both global and local politics. We shall be talking about Donald Trump, the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. We shall elaborate on that. We shall also be talking about the Tinubu. I read earlier in the week that Tinubu has sent a supplementary 6.2 trillion naira supplementary budget to the National Assembly. That we'll be talking about as well. We shall be talking about Senator Ndume's controversy with the presidency. I don't know because the presidency is not clearly or publicly saying it, but I can see I think the presidency is the one working on the ground. So we shall be talking about that story as well. And we shall also be talking about the planned protest that is coming up in the month of August, I think 1st of August, national protest that I don't know the organizer. I think one of the organizers, if not the organizer, is Showore, the owner of Sahara Reporter. And I think I know some few journalists too that are involved in that. So, but I don't know much about the planners, actually the organizers of that protest. So these are the topics we shall be talking about. And perhaps we shall also be talking about the issue that has to do with Dangote. Dangote, what is actually happening between Dangote? What is going on? What is the beef behind Dangote and the national and the presidency or the executive arm of government or the federal government? Because I think it's a broad situation. So we shall be. I'm not sure if time permits. We may. So let me use that word may. We may be talking about that as well because it's a new development. I just read about it earlier today. Okay, I think I heard about it yesterday, but I wasn't too detailed. I didn't get the detail of the situation then. But this morning I seem to have gotten something of somehow a kind of detail that we can all actually chew on. But not sure yet. We may be talking about that if time permits. So these are the rundown. I just decided to run down the topics that what we have on the table to discuss on this show today. As I said earlier, my name is JIBRIN, and this is JIBRIN Angle. We have Barrister Austin Manta, a very, very, very good and cogent analyst that will be actually dealing with these topics with. So Barrister, you're welcome once again. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure.
All right. And obviously you have, of course, I don't think there is anyone who is who is into current affairs who didn't hear or read about the attempted assassination of US former President Donald Trump. And obviously the failure of the Secret Service and other failures around the incidents as well. So please, if you don't mind, can you give us your thoughts on this assassination attempt and everything around Donald Trump, the political aspect of his life?
Thank you very much. For most of us who are watchers of the American politics and the American empire, and who have been following its principles and its actions, we have come to see that America is decaying from within. Now, America was founded on the principles of family and a nation under God. Over time, what we see is that they have gone away from family, they have gone away from God. Everything goes under a liberalism that is becoming more and more extreme, to the extent that you are allowed to do whatever you like. Now, there are millions of families in America that are single mothers, single parents, detracting from the family. The family has always been the root of a stable society, because within a stable family, it will evolve into a stable nation. Within that family, there are values, and that values translate into good and stable citizens. The more you have an attack on family values, the more you find it being reflected in the quality of the society that we evolve. That is how we see America today. They have jettisoned God, they have jettisoned the family. So we have a situation where there's extreme liberalism that is going on. On the other hand, there are still a good number, millions of Americans who are conservative, who want to retain those family values, who want to retain a nation under God. So these are the competing interests in American society. Donald Trump has always been, and he leaves no one in doubt on where he stands. He wants to maintain the American values, the family system, and the nation under God. And the other group will naturally, in that form, oppose him. So that is what has happened. You know about the abortion issue, which is a big issue in America, where they turn it from abortion to rights of women to control their body. That is the language that they use to minimize the crime of killing of innocent children. They call it the right of women to control their bodies. So in that way, if you look at it, you see some sense. It detracts from the actual crime of killing babies. The same thing, you will see the language changing from sodomy, which used to be a crime in the US itself, to gay, to now, what do they call it now?
LGBTQ.
Gay rights.
Gay rights.
They have amortized not just the gay, but other groups into their fold. So you now have LGBTQ. All of them have come together. These rights, if you ask 20 years ago, where were these rights? But today, they are in their millions, they are formed groups, they are overrunning the society, and they want to even force it down the throats of those who oppose them. It has come transgender, it has come to a situation where you as a parent, you will not have a voice if your 9-year-old daughter decide to transition to a boy. You as a parent will not have a choice. You can even be sent to prison if you want to oppose it. Similarly, your child of 10 years can transition to a girl, and you as a parent will be deprived the right to say no. On one hand, we say there's age of majority and minority. A child of certain age cannot do certain things, cannot drive, cannot open a bank account, cannot do this. But that child of 9 years is allowed to transition from one gender to another. They have banned the word daughter and son. They have banned the word female and male. They want to create hybrid personalities, so that we will not be saying somebody is a woman, we will not be saying somebody is a man. They have introduced several genders. So this is the context in which the politics of America has become so bitter, and it has become almost like enmity between the two groups. Donald Trump came and we saw what he did. Now, the liberal establishment, which, by the way, are very powerful in America. They control the press, they control Nollywood and Hollywood, they control a lot of power. They have several billionaires in their fold. They had to fight him, and eventually Joe Biden was elected the president. Now, in this coming election in November, Donald Trump has sought, he brought one strategy, just to put it in one sentence. He wanted to make the election into an issue of strength and weakness, and to put himself as a strong person and to project or show Joe Biden as a weak person. To that extent, he succeeded. But over and above that, the assassination attempt gave him an unsolicited advantage. It gave him more than what he could have done. And don't forget, this man is a television man. He's a television actor. He has been there for long. He recognized the moment, even in that dire and dangerous moment of the gunshot. He recognized that it could be a moment for him to project strength. So even as the Secret Service were struggling to take him away, he had the sense to project that strength. And you can now see the iconic picture of his fist with against the background of an American flag, and his words, fight, fight, fight. This is something that we go like I said, even in that dire moment, he recognized that a show of strength would sit well with the American people. So he asked and was able to project that strength by thumping his fist in the face of death and rousing the people to fight. At the same time, the president, Joe Biden, had been struggling right from the debates within his Democratic Party. You know, there are calls for him to step down. As at this morning, yesterday it was 2 senators and 1 senator. As this morning, 2 senators have joined with 30 House members to call on him to step aside. So while Donald Trump is projecting strength, the other side is projecting weakness. And while the Republican Party is projecting unity, the other party is projecting utmost chaos. So if things go on as they are, you can take it to the bank that Donald Trump will be re-elected in November. Barring any other possibility. Even if they change Joe Biden, it will be a risky move, and there's no guarantee that anybody chosen now will overturn the movement that is in favor of Donald Trump.
All right. Thank you so very much for that preamble, that background of the United States background you just gave to us, very detailed, and the viewers, that is just it. Barrister Manta just said it as it is, and very, very perfect, very apt in the explanation of the U.S. background, where U.S. is coming from, and where they are at the moment, sort of. So that is just it. The fabric of the nation is in jeopardy. Seriously, U.S. fabric is political and social fabric is diminishing. Not just political, social, legal, and yeah, all the fabrics you can mention on all the paraphernalia of governance. They are all in jeopardy at the moment. Honestly, U.S. has never been this weak in the history of global sphere. U.S. has never been this weak. This weakness it's unprecedented. Unprecedented, that's the right word, it's unprecedented, actually. So Barrister just said it well. That is just it. The US is just moving away very, very fast, moving away. In the school now, institutions in the US right now, schools, they are putting Bible away, putting opening prayers away, putting anything that has to do with God, anywhere God is mentioned, they all is just being thrown away. They are the liberal government, the current Democrat government is just putting anything that has to do with God is an anathema to them, is an abomination to them. It is a no-go area to them, whatever. So they are banning prayer, opening prayers in any institutions or any events or whatever. They are taking God. In fact, even dollar, in God we trust. They have tried on several occasions, and they are still working hard under the radar to take that away from their currency. In God we trust. They just want to take that away. It's just that when the first filtered to the public, there was very strong opposition to that. So they kind of withdrew that, but I'm very sure they are working underneath it. So under the radar to make sure anything that they achieve that as well. So anything that has to do with God, anything that has to do with morality, they are just not there. They are going farther away from anything that has to do with morality. It is far down towards immorality. Everything is just a decay. In fact, the decadence in the society right now in the US is just it's something that no one could have imagined for that US will ever be in this position about 10, 20 years ago. Sort of. So it's a very bad situation. Now, on this Donald Trump issue, for those of you, so there are some people who wonder why I am in support of Donald Trump now, and I am an ardent. I'm an ardent. When I say ardent, unrepentant, ardent, unflinching supporter of Donald Trump. I love everything about him. I love everything about except one thing. Sometimes he goes petty. Sometimes he just wants to do some petty things or whatever, indulge in some petty back and forth or whatever. That's even at that, because I don't believe everybody has one weakness. You can't be perfect. So I can understand that side of him as a human being. So, but apart from sometimes he becomes petty, indulging in something, a conversation that saying something that that is beneath him. Apart from that, everything about Donald Trump, I just love that man. I love his courage. I love his tenacity. I love his resilience. I love his personality. And I love his strength. Above all, his strength. He exudes enormous strength that people around him and far from him seem to naturally be scared of him. It goes beyond respect. And some respect, most people respect him, but I think very many people they fear him because the kind of courage he has, the kind of strength he exudes is just is something overboard. It's something that is not seen in politics, in public sphere. It's nothing that is not. It's something that is not experienced in the public. So, and that is just it. Now, my love for Donald Trump, it is very, very objective. I started supporting him from the foundation, from when he came down the escalator. From when he came down the escalator to announce his presidency for his presidential run. And I listened to him. My God, when I watched that speech, I said, my God, I love this man. That was the day I started loving him, and I remember everybody when he first started, people discounted him, just shrugged him aside, and everybody just said, wow, this guy is not going anywhere. This man is just like Barrister says, he's a television person. It's an entertainment person, so it's just that he has tried it before. This is not the first time Donald Trump is declaring for whatever that he will whatever. I looked at him after listening to that speech. I fell in love with him, and said from that time, I started supporting him very ardently. And I attended so many forum where people they brought him or his matter up, and people would just everybody would just this kind of. I was always the one who would say, "What are people talking about? This man is heading towards being the president of the United States, and I think he will." Sort of, and then whenever I say it, people will just laugh at me and just see me as someone who did not know what he's saying or whatever. So and that is just it. So from there, I followed his antecedents. I followed his the process that actually got him to presidency. Every bit of him, he's that person who goes to where people generally don't go, politicians don't go to. Someone who talks, who brings up topics that politicians avoid. Sensitive situations, sensitive topics, sensitive events, everything that he is politically incorrect. That is just it. Let me use that word. And I love people who are politically incorrect, who say it the way it is. Donald Trump came up with the problem. And you people, I don't know why, for those of you, my viewers, go back to up to 35 years ago during the Ronald Reagan regime in 1983, 84. That was when Donald Trump started talking about the US, the decadence in the US. It was, in fact, if you watch all this, I don't know by the time if you have watched all these videos, there are so many videos on YouTube about Donald Trump, dated back or whatever. Correct. That man has been, in fact, I consider him as a prophet, as a prophet.
He's very consistent.
Very, very, you see, I'm just trying to list out why I am in love with this man. I'm objectively in love with this man. Now, if you watch all those clips, 35 years ago down, everything that Donald Trump has been saying about the US, he's been very inconsistent. He's been saying the truth as they were and as they are at this time. Everything, the problem that US had that time, the policy problems that the US, everything, he has been very consistent and very, 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 very straightforward, very open towards it. And this man is more than just being a politician. Of course, he cannot be a politician. This man is just more than being a politician. So he has always said it all. All the people he has always criticized China from the 30-something years ago. He spoke about the way US were weak towards China. The US was weak towards China and towards other everything he said are things that have happened and are still happening today. And coming down to when he declared his presidency and ran through that period, he was saying he kept on hammering on all this, even when even majority, including the Republican Party, who I reconsider as some of them are rhinos. They are just rhinos, means Republican in name only. I believe that some of them are just like more of Democrats than Republicans. They are just registered. They don't only have that label as Republicans. Including Republicans, critics went all hell. Even up to this moment, some of them are still, apart from these last 2-3 weeks, that the unity is becoming so brazen, sort of. So they have always been against him, together with the Democrats or whatever. So he goes to where nobody goes to. He talks what people don't normally talk about. He dares the status quo. He dares the establishment. So, and that is one thing I love about him. And man, I wasn't wrong after he became president, after all. After supporting him, I listened to him for whatever reason. I just trusted that he was going to do what he promised to do. And man, he overperformed in 4 years. He did not only all the promises he made during campaign, he did not only fulfill them in his presidency. he even performed more than he promised. He did even more things than he promised. The things he never even promised, he took care of them. And a long list of, I used to have about 200 and something, so many things he did in 4 years, about 240, 250 something list of so many things, important things. Some of them are policy direction, and in policy direction. Some of them are in social direction. Some of them are in national and international, global direction or whatever. So many things he achieved, sort of. So, and that is just it. So he actually stood against. One thing I wasn't happy during his 4 years as the president of the United States of America was he was supposed to, and that could have actually saved him from losing the 2020 election. Which I believe he didn't even lose in the first place. He was rigged. How could someone like Biden, who never campaigned, ever win election, and will not only win the election, win the highest vote ever in the history of election in Nigeria, in the US, a sort of the weakest president ever, the weakest presidential candidate and the weakest president. How could such a man ever win the highest vote count in the history of the US election? It's not basically impossible. That was a rigged election. So, like coming back to Donald Trump, he could have, what I thought he didn't, he failed to achieve during his presidency, that could have actually solidified his presidency, was the fact that he didn't really revamp the system. He tried it, but I understand why he actually exercised a level of restraint, because there were hypocrites around him, people who projected to be sheep, but they were actually snakes and vipers, sort of behind him, sort of. So the people who told him what he wanted to hear, and behind him they were doing something else. So he was actually surrounded with people who never gave him the true impression, the true reality of what is actually happening, or what was actually happening, and what was on ground, sort of. So I understand that was one of the reasons. And secondly, the Republican Party as well, the establishment in the Republican Party were ardently against him. He knew that, whatever. So I understood quite all right that there are firing that if he had done, could have actually attracted the wrath of the Republican establishment together with the Democrats or whatever, and that could have, of course, his presidency then was generally under a chaotic, not his making, but the making of the establishment. They made it look chaotic, actually. So, and that was the projection they gave to the public, and I think he was trying to minimize that negative projection, that negative impress that the establishment was pushing to the public then, and that is why probably he didn't. Because what I expected him to do was to really revamp the system. There were so many people that he could have fired. He would have revamped the legal system, not just legal system, but the Ministry of the Department of Justice. He needed to revamp that, the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service, and other security agents or whatever. Agencies, sorry. So I expected that revampment from him, but he didn't. He failed to do that, and of course, we know that we know what happened. That cost him what he is even passing through right now. Because if he had done what the needful then, they couldn't have used these same institutions as a weapon against him, sort of. But apart from that, honestly, everything about that man is just good. Now, another thing is, you see, this fight, the establishment fighting Donald Trump it keeps making me to love him, to see another good side of him. I don't know, Barrister, did you ever think that someone like Donald Trump, that the government of the United States the entire apparatus of government, of security and law, apparatus of law and security could ever go against one person and never find something to actually pin on him legally? Did you ever think of that? Did you ever expect that to come from someone like Donald Trump, who is a successful businessman? Because I've always had this mindset that there is no successful businessman that does not have one death, one dirty stuff, one skeleton or the other that is actually against the law, that he or she has perpetrated in the course of he or she becoming successful. So coming with this from the government on Donald Trump, honestly, it's so shocking to me that the FBI, the CIA, the secret, all the legal system, everything they have thrown, including the kitchen sink, the entire kitchen sink at him. Nothing sticks, nothing. They couldn't find something. The worst they could find was something that wasn't even illegal, that has to do with his personal life, with a porn star or whatever. And something that is not, I can't believe that Donald Trump is this clean, Barrister. What do you think about this?
Well, you have to understand, after I set out the conflict in the American society,
yes,
as between the conservative and the liberal establishment, even before Donald Trump became president, they knew where he was going, and they set the machinery to fight him from day one, for which they had some allies in the Republican Party itself. So even within his own party, he was not completely at peace with his own people. And don't forget, Donald Trump had never been in administration before. He's a businessman, and the rules that apply when you are a businessman are different from the rules that apply in administration of a country. So he came there as a complete novice in administration. Now, if you look in American society, somebody may be the president. For a long time, what they call the Washington establishment is as powerful as the president itself.
Yeah.
This establishment is as powerful. It includes the security agencies, the FBI, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, and other, the CIA. They constitute, with some powers behind, they constitute the Washington establishment. For him to go against these centuries established norms and establishment and still survive, and still be potent, and still be in poor position to become president again, is something, a feat that I personally believe has not been achieved in American history. Secondly, let me add something that I ought to have added. It is not by accident that America is the richest country in the world. It's not by accident that America is the strongest country militarily in the world. It's not by accident that every person, tribe, or society in the world has people in the United States. You can mention any tribe in the US, you have their citizens in the US. These are not by accident. Most of us believe that America has a destiny in the world. They have been a force of good, and this is now to discount the many evils that they have perpetrated. Go back and check in the advent of the Second World War, America rebuilt the whole of Europe by what they call the Marshall Plan. It was America that brought Europe out, because Europe was damaged and destroyed because of the Second World War. So America has been a force of good in the world, although they have also committed a lot of evil. But to be that successful, it's not just by their strength, I don't, and I've never believed that it's just by American strength alone. I believe that there is a heavenly or supernatural power that favored America to be what it is, to be the preeminent country in the world. And this was dependent on the values they had from independence, which I have set up, family and God. Now you progressively divest from those families. And that is where the problem has begun to come. No matter what anybody says of Donald Trump, and I point it out to them, no matter what anybody says of Donald Trump, in his 4 years, Russia did Hamas did not attack Israel during his 4 years. In the Far East, where China has been asserting dominance, they were controlled and they were contained. So these are the 4 areas of threat of security in the world. From the Middle East, from the Far East, from Russia attacking Ukraine, and the issue between Israel and the Palestinians. You can remember the accords that
Abraham Accord.
The Abraham Accord that Donald Trump put in place, very successful, up to the point that Biden took over, he shattered that. Yeah. All the Middle East countries were signing up to that accord. But look at the position now. So no matter what anybody says, he was regarded as a man of strength, unpredictable. So the countries had to respect him because you could not figure out what he will do or how he will react in a certain situation. This is what the president of America ought to be. But as soon as this man came, everybody saw that he was a weak person. And so you now see what happened between Russia and Ukraine. You saw what happened in Hamas. You saw what Iran is doing in the Middle East. Even in the Far East, you see how the issue is being handled. So Donald Trump is what America needs now to maintain their superiority and to maintain their status as a superpower and as a nation of good for the world. That is why a lot of us support him. And that is why we believe that he is the right person for the president, because it's not just America that is an issue. The world itself is an issue. The leadership of America has a lot to do on the world stage. So whoever is president of America is important. Me sitting here in Nigeria, I look at the president of America in as much position as the president of Nigeria when it comes to Nigeria, because what they do on the international stage, what they do in the economic forum, what they do militarily, will affect us here in so many ways. So we have to take a very good look at the American elections and an American power structure. And when you look at it objectively in that way, you will have to support Donald Trump. The issue is, do you give in to terrorists and people who threaten to get something by force, or you match them with force? He chooses that, look, you cannot appease these people. You cannot appease terrorists. Let's fight them. Let's fight them and eliminate them. He helped fight the ISIS terrorists. The assessment is that 90% of ISIS were rooted out. So the 10% that remain, even though if not completely, is already contained and is no longer a threat to world peace. So I have a lot to say in support of the 4 years of Donald Trump, which were being undercut from within the US, from within the establishment. And even in spite of that, he was able to forge ahead. I believe he has learned a lot of lessons establishment-wise, administrative-wise. He knows a lot of people that you appoint that are shouting they have loyalty to you don't have it. He has experienced that. He saw the people who supported him, whom he appointed. Some of them, you see what they say now. So I believe that if he has the opportunity to come back, he's going to adjust. He's going to better understand how to face both the internal and external threats.
Well, thank you so much like that. And for all that you have just said, you've been very, very detailed about that and very, very, very on point. And another thing, there are so many, in fact, you see Donald Trump, I do not expect Chris, I don't know, let me spell out this. I always tell people something. If you are, before you support anything in your life, whatever you want to support, whatever, first of all, do your research, make your research on that matter, on that issue, on that thing, or that institution, or whatever. Read everything, at least do make your research, and you'll be able to find out some things about that stuff. That will shape up your decision. Now, honestly, I do not expect any Christian. When I say Christian, not just nominal Christians, because we have so many Christians who are really, really, some of them are even pastors and ministers of God, are really born-again Christians that are actually supporting the Democrat Party, supporting Biden. I do not expect any real Christian to actually support any democratic platform. Anyone coming on that Democrat platform, not democratic, sorry. Any Democrat platform, go to their platform, you see everything they believe in, everything they stand for, major policies, major things they stand for are against Christianity, against God. And that is it. So I do not understand why a Christian will ever vote for a Democrat Party. Talk less of Joe Biden, who is far, who have gone far to the left. Now, on the Trump aspect, Trump in his 4 years, he promised that, and he actually was able to fulfill that. Religious liberty, because religious freedom and liberty was being, in fact, during the Obama regime, in fact, they already started, I think, I've forgotten this law that actually penalizes churches that speaks against the government. If you are a pastor, any church, any pastor who mounts the pulpit and speaks against the government will withdraw. There is some benefits or whatever that they withdraw from. And something I've forgotten, there is a penalty too. There is something that either there, I think, I've forgotten that. I don't want to, I'm trying to avoid, because it didn't just came to my mind right now. It didn't occur to me earlier. I could have actually gotten details of it. There are two things that happens to that church. They will withdraw withdraw the benefits that they receive from the federal government, and secondly, drop a kind of some hammer of law, that's something that has to do with, I don't know, I've forgotten anyway, but I know there are two penalties that goes with some such thing or whatever. When Trump became president, because that was actually signed by executive fiat through Obama. When Trump became president, he abolished that. He used the same executive powers to actually cancel, to repeal that law. And so many other things he did for the Christians or whatever. And who could have ever imagined that the US will officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel? So many presidents, Clinton, George Bush, all of them campaigned on this. They campaigned on all the presidential candidates that campaigned on promising to recognize Jerusalem as the capital and move the United States Embassy to Jerusalem. All of them, they were genuine. I think they were serious. But when they assumed power, leadership, the pressure was so immense and intense, of course. And I understand the pressure, because pressure comes from within and outside, because anything that has to do with Jerusalem, they will have a lot, the powers that be, the global superpowers in fact, it attracts the global establishment. anything that has to do with Israel and Jerusalem, it attracts global establishment. So, and that comes with serious pressure. And so many of all the presidents, all the United States presidents that campaigned, that promised to do that, actually caved to all those pressure, except Donald Trump, one person, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is such a person, he has that strong character, strong strength, very real strength, and courage to actually resist pressure when it is time to make the right decision. That is a very, very I do not expect any genuine Christian to actually vote for anyone other than Donald Trump in the next coming election. Honestly, that is just, he has done so much for the, and besides, even the Muslims, I don't even understand why Muslims are even voting for the Democrat, anyone coming from the Democrat platform. I don't know. It's the same. LGBTQ is also against very in conflict, serious conflict with the Islamic tenets. So I do not understand this. Everybody knows that the platform that is actually pushing strongly all the immoral policies, all the policies that has led the US system into such decadence, moral decadence. We all know that it is the Democrat platform that is actually pushing strongly, aggressively all these policies. So it doesn't make sense for any serious Muslim or any serious Christian to vote for anyone coming on that Democrat platform. And so that is just it. Barrister, let me ask you, why do you think, did you notice that most Nigerians actually hate Donald Trump?
Yeah, it is.
Why now? If you have noticed that, why do you think Nigerians hate Donald Trump?
There are two reasons. One, ignorance, and two, the information, or rather three. Two, the information that is out there. Three, the part of Nigeria where you come from. If you know who and who are against Donald Trump in Nigeria, the Northerners, the Muslim North, are fervently against him.
Yes.
But as you go down south, you see support for him very, very much there. The Muslims believe that, and you are saying why a Muslim should support the Democrat Party. They have good reason. Understand that the Democrats are the party that want open borders, immigration into the US. The Muslims of the world believe that America cannot be defeated outside, but it can be defeated from within. So their strategy is to encourage Muslim immigration to the US. The more they come to the US, the better. And the only party that can facilitate that is the Democratic Party. So there is a love-hate relationship. While on the one hand, the Democrats propose and propagate LGBTQ and moral decadence. On the other hand, they also buy into the agenda of the Muslims through immigration into the US. And by that, they are enabling Muslims to get a foothold and to attain sufficient numbers.
Which is actually working right now. It is working seriously.
Which is working. They have overrun Britain as we speak.
Yes.
Now, Muslims have overrun Britain. You cannot do anything in Britain except you abide by if you see the last elections in Britain, a lot of people who campaigned against Israel were voted because their constituents were majority Muslims. So if they come to achieve that in the US, you will begin to see when they have sufficient numbers, America will really begin to understand the problem they're against. A lot of people like Donald Trump have seen it.
Yes.
But the Democrats, their issue is they are not holding on to any belief system. Belief system is no longer anything to them. It's the power that is everything. If you have belief and you see that their belief will not take you to make power, you jettison that belief. Why is Joe Biden, a Catholic, now supporting abortion?
Honestly.
In the Catholic Church, you can never, is a principle of the Catholic Church that abortion is a sin and is illegal. And if you are supporting it, you are not even supposed to take the Holy Communion. How is Joe Biden, a born Catholic, now supporting abortion? It's because he believes it will bring him power. So there are people who don't have principles. Their principles relate only to power, what will bring them to power. And Joe Biden has changed his opinion over the years as he feels it will align with the a particular majority at that relevant time. So there are people that have no principles. The only thing that matters to them is to grab the power and hold it. So
you see, the thing is not okay. You mentioned three things: ignorance and sometimes selfish interest, and one other thing or whatever. But the truth, and okay, on the side of ignorance, there are so many Nigerians that are not ignorant. Because I felt bad. There is this former minister of foreign affairs. I've forgotten his name. He's always on Arise TV. It's a regular guy there when it comes to international issues. They always call him Professor. Is it Akin? I've forgotten his name, but I don't even care about it because that man behaves like I'm surprised, a prof for that matter. You see that I keep telling people sometimes, say, look, we've talked about this before.
If academics. Talking about Professor Bolaji, this thing, he has been like that from day one. His analysis is so superficial.
My God.
From day one, since I was a young lawyer, I have listened to him, and I always have room to condemn him,
honestly,
him, because he has no depth.
That is it, correct. That's
it. He was a foreign minister of Nigeria.
Yes.
And at his age, I think he's about 80-something now. When you hear him talk, you see that there's no wisdom. There's no depth. And there's no intellectual input in what he says. So I don't reckon him much as one of the great Nigerians that I would take seriously.
Honestly, that man, when I said, why is Arise? Okay, Arise, okay, they are featuring him because even Ruben Agbati, that I dislike so much, even from during Jonathan regime or whatever, is of course, he too is a liberal person. When it comes to liberalism, they are the ones actually who push liberalism in Nigeria, who push it. And so that I can understand why they feature him. But honestly, that man, sometimes he speaks just like you said. I wonder how he became a professor. For God's sake, we have said this before. So academics does not make you give you wisdom. We said it before that academic is completely different from wisdom. Wisdom and academics are completely independent of each other. And that's exactly what I have seen over the course of my life. That I've met people who are well-read, real technocrats, real intellectuals, who, when you sit down with them and talk about things of general matters about life, and they are just not there at all. They are so empty. And that's exactly with the same thing with this so-called Professor Bolaji, Akinwumi, right? Yes. A sort of. So I remember the last one I had, I had to turn on my television, honestly, where he said he despises Donald Trump. Just I don't get it. I don't understand why people will hate someone who is actually out to do the right thing. Some people will say because of his personality, because of the way he speaks, the way he talks or whatever. And so what? Why do you have to throw the baby away, throw the water with the water with the baby? Why would you have to throw away with the water, pray with the dirty water with the baby, for God's sake? Why don't you take the message and forget about the messenger? So when I hear in intellectuals, academicians actually going against Donald Trump, and when I listen to them, why they are going, they're so petty that it doesn't make sense to me. Their reasons are so empty. So sad.
It's not only in Nigeria. It's not only in Nigeria. If you find
even of course, in the US, it's worse in the US.
if you find comment at the highest level in the US, people, former defense secretaries, people who have held the highest position, you find the comment so shallow. Let me give you an example. When Donald Trump was president, he said that they asked him if he will come to the defense of any NATO country, and he said that he will not come to the defense of any NATO country that did not pay his financial dues. Now they went to town saying that Donald Trump says he will dissolve NATO, he will weaken NATO. Now tell me if you can a good analysis of his statement. You can understand it in the way that he wanted to strengthen NATO by making everybody pay up his dues. Paying up his dues will strengthen NATO instead of weakening it. But look at the analysis they analyzed this. That there is never a time that he said he was going to dissolve NATO. What he said is that, look, let Europe bear a greater portion of their protection. They threw everything at America. You are supposed to be using 2% of your budget for defense. You are paying less than 1%. Everything about the European defense fell on America. The man said, look, you are cheating us. You are just putting, we are defending you. Why shouldn't you pay your share? So if you don't want to pay your share, when you are in trouble, don't call upon us. How is that a statement that will now be interpreted that if Donald Trump comes to power, he will weaken NATO, he will dissolve NATO?
That is it.
You hear them saying all these things, and people buy into it.
Honestly.
People who don't want to reason out a matter buy into it.
That is it. Unfortunately, so that is it.
If you reach the level of Professor Bolaji Akinemi, a professor, a foreign affairs minister, even at my level, I will not analyze somebody based on his bombastic grammar.
Honestly,
or even I will look beyond that. At my level, I will look beyond that and look at the substance of his speech and look at the policy direction of his speech and analyze that speech. That is the benefit of education.
Yes, of course.
The benefit of enlightenment.
You're right, honestly. That is just it anyway. Now, honestly, you see, when Peter Obi came up for during presidential 2023 presidential election, I saw so many things in common with him. So many things in him that is in common with Donald Trump, and that was why, honestly, that was one of the reasons why I supported him, because I saw a kind of Donald Trump. I saw the image of Donald Trump in him, except one thing, and that thing that I didn't see in him was why he did not only lose the election, and that is why he will not lose. He will not even win should he contest. Now, if you are watching as my viewer here, I do not have any. I'm not. If Peter will be coming up to contest for presidency again today, I will support him as long as he's on the ticket. I will support him. But what I am saying, my projection is he will not win because he lost that chance. He lost that chance because I saw Donald Trump in him. And so the only thing he doesn't have because he's a successful, the things that are in common, he's a successful businessman, just like Donald Trump. He was loved by the masses, just like the common man on the street, just like Donald Trump. He was against the establishment, just like Donald Trump. His policies, his success story is against the establishment, and just like Donald Trump as well. So, but the other side of Donald Trump, the strength he lacked, and he still lacks, unfortunately, the strength of Donald Trump. That is what is lacking in him. He exhibited that strength in Anambra State when he was a governor. I don't know, for whatever reason, on national level, he's just not doing, he's just chickening out. I see Peter Obi as, while he has some strength in him, he's as weak as he is strong. Let me use that word. He's half strong and half weak. And that is why he lost it, because 2023 election, everybody knew quite right that Peter Obi won that election. What I expected him to do is to be the Donald Trump of Nigeria then. Use a serious megaphone, Go on megaphone. Stop. Don't believe in the courts. Use your popularity, your public popularity at that time to actually pull back your mandate, take back your mandate by sending people on to up to the to the streets, not to protest violently, but peaceful protests. If at that time Peter Obi had stood up in the public and called for protests, I am telling you, by now Nigeria wouldn't have been facing all this, what Tinubu, the way Tinubu is treating us and taking us for granted. So Peter Obi, whatever we are passing through in this Tinubu's government, honestly, I blame Peter Obi for it. Because if he had done the needful, if he had been courageous enough, probably by now he could have even been more popular. I don't even see Peter Obi is not. I don't know, Barrister. Do you have a very good foresight when it comes to politics? Do you see Peter Obi as that Peter Obi's popularity in comparison? Do you see him as popular in comparison to his popularity in 2023 election? Now,
not at all. Not at all. His popularity has dropped.
As when? That's it.
Let me tell you, that will reflect there is a coming election in Edo State where Labour Party performed excellently in the presidential election. But you will see it in the gubernatorial election where they should have built on that performance. I don't see them winning the election in Edo State.
You see, even that's the point.
They have a very good candidate, the former chairman of NBA in Nigeria.
Yes.
But because the obedient movement has climbed down.
Yes, of course. Because
for him to win,
yes, of course.
Don't forget, when I was analyzing Peter Obi, I was a bit cautious because I saw that he was not mercurial like Trump. And even though he did not use the word Nigeria first, all the things he did and everything he said
was like Donald Trump.
Philosophy of Nigeria first, just like Trump came with America first. Everything that Peter Obi was doing could fit into the philosophy of Nigeria first. That is why some of us, as against who he contested with, we were 100% certain that he was the right candidate for Nigeria at that time. And don't forget, remember what I said. I said, if Peter Obi comes to power, I don't expect miracles, but I expect a foundation for good governance in Nigeria and the pointing of Nigeria's future in the right direction. If that happens, I will give him 100% success, because the problem in Nigeria is so multifaceted that 8 years is enough to drive a revolution to change Nigeria. But if we succeed in introducing good governance, in demystifying governance, and in pointing Nigeria in the right way politically and economically, in such a way that other incoming governments or administrations can build upon, that would be an unqualified success in this country. And that is the minimum I expected, and I believe he could achieve because of his character and because of what he did before.
Yeah, you're right. That's my point, honestly. That is the reason why I don't see, because just like you said, the obedient movement, that's why, of course, just like you pointed, it's not, the Labour Party is not winning elections on local levels. It's sort of, so of course his popularity has waned, and it's still waning, actually still going down. And so because obedient movement, we expected better from him. Honestly, we expected him to really act, not be chicken out. I don't know, this issue of, look, I expected him to be, he could have been, just look at Donald Trump now. The more he stood his ground and the authority are going after him, the more popular he is. And that is exactly what I expected of Peter Obi. He could have taken advantage of that trend then, that popularity trend in his favor then, and actually be aggressive in his public speeches, not being you're not being elected. We are not fighting for you because it's for you to be a pastor or a reverend father or a preacher. We're fighting for you because we fought for you because we thought we were expected you to come and take the establishment, take them on and fight against them. A sort of for us, not that kind of whatever. So so sad that and it's become even weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker because it just goes around touring everywhere, attending all events and whatever. You know, even no decorum anymore, no respect. He doesn't even choose where what event he attends anymore. Just for in fact, to me, I just see him as being this time around. He's becoming desperate. That desperation, and this is what I hate. I don't like. You are doing something out of desperation and not out of the sincerity of purpose and not out of patriotism. Because if he wanted to be patriotic, he would have done with the needful in 2023 election to stand for Nigeria and Nigerians. He failed to stand for Nigeria and Nigerians, and that is why I am really, really, really mad at him. And that is why he will not, because he has lost that time. It was his time then, but he lost that time. So sad. Now he just goes around attending all functions, both where everywhere any function is invited, he just honors it or whatever, just for political gains.
Part of his problem is that he does not have high quality advisors, strategic advisors. I don't think he has them. Because what he's doing now does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Honestly, it doesn't make sense. Just too childish and too. I don't know why he's doing that. Okay, we know why he's doing that, but it's not obviously it's not going anywhere. That's the truth. Okay, Barrister, let's move to the next. In fact, my guy, stretch this topic to over 1 hour. All right, let's move to the next topic, Barrister. This one has to do with Tinubu again. Honestly, anytime I hear that name or I mention that name, I weep. I weep with a whole lot of disappointment and hopelessness. Honestly. Barrister, Tinubu forwarded a 6.2 trillion naira supplementary budget on the one that we already have about 28, almost 28 trillion naira budget. We have done nothing on that budget. Yet, Tinubu is sending another extra 6.2 trillion naira. Remember, I think probably this inclusive, what is included in this, I think the issue, this flight purchase is actually, this presidential flight purchase is included in it. Now, this flight purchase, which if to me was unnecessary and reckless, they bought it at $100 million and spent, and are going to be spending, and they are going to be spending $50 million to customize it. Or that means the total totals it to $150 million. For God's sake. If you add up that, if you multiply it by 1,550, let's see. 1,550, let's see how many billion, for God's sake, and what that could have done. 150 million. Times 1,550. Barrister, do you know, can you imagine what this 232 billion naira? My God, 232 billion naira. Do you know what that could have done? How many roads that could have constructed? New roads, not refurbishment, not rehabilitation. New roads, 230 something, 232.5 billion naira. Now they use it to purchase. We have a whole lot of on the presidential air fleet. We have so many aircraft here. I don't know why they couldn't have. I don't know what all they needed to do was the one they have. They said they are talking about safety issue, whatever. All they needed to do was to take care of the safety issue. We all know that you can turn in aircraft manufacturing. you can actually pull up new aircraft from an existing old aircraft. I don't know if you're aware of that, because all you need to do, change some things. What I expected when they mentioned this issue of safety matter, what I expected was take care of the safety issue. What is that? What was that thing? What is that thing causing safety issue or defects on the aircraft? All you needed to do is to take, instead of spending this kind of 200 and something billion, for God's sake, that is outrageous. All they needed to do, probably spend 1 billion naira, worst case scenario, to customize it, to bring it to at least take away that safety issue. Barrister, what is your thought on this?
Well, we talk about the first budget of 27-point-something trillion on this show. We analyzed the budget then. We talked about the first accounting, the first things that were made or put in the budget, the repetitive nature of some of the projects and expenditure profile that was put there. We exhaustively dealt with the first budget, and the Nigerian people, majority of them, understood the budget for what it was, a reckless and profligate budget. Now, understand that in the Nigerian sector or in the Nigerian system, people have come to understand the government to be a reckless spender. So everybody is buying in. When they realize that, oh, these people are spending recklessly, everybody wants a piece of the pie. So you see budgets, supplementary budget coming from many ministries and parastatals, because they realize that, oh, these people are not serious, they want to chop money, we as well can do it. So you now see an additional 6-point-something trillion as supplementary budget. We are now in July, meaning that we are almost done with first and second quarter of the year. So how do you bring a 6-point-something trillion supplementary budget by the end of the second quarter, when you have not given account of the first budget?
No, we are done with first and second quarter. We are in the third quarter.
Yes, that's what we are saying, virtually the same thing. How do you introduce a 6-point-something trillion naira supplementary budget in the third quarter or end of second quarter, where you have not given account of the 27-point-something trillion budget that you made in the first budgetary presentation to the House? Do Nigerians know whether that budget has been exhausted? Do Nigerians know the revenue profile of that first budget and the expenditure that followed it? We don't know. All we woke up to see is a supplementary budget taking care of the... by the way, I heard that the presidential aircraft has already been delivered.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes, I just read it, I think 2 days ago, that they have already taken possession of the aircraft. Now, you say that, I told you on this platform before that there were about 17 to 18 aircraft in the presidential fleet. Now, they claim that they are going to sell about 3 of the aircraft. As we speak, we don't know if they have been sold. We don't know how much they have been sold and to whom. So you see, everything is being done. There's no transparency at all in either the budgetary process or the implementation of the budget. We just woke up and see things and they fly. We woke up and hear this has been done and they fly. That is how the country is being governed. There's no information. Even as we speak, probably out of that 6-point-something trillion, I'm sure maybe they have already spent it. Maybe they're already taking possession of what they want
possible, of course.
to use and pay for, of which we Nigerians are not aware. There's no transparency in anything being done. So we see a financially reckless government that is insensitive to the excruciating suffering of Nigerians, suffering that has never happened in Nigeria before. I went to the market to buy this small paint brush, a paint bucket of pepper, and it was 8,000. Pepper, the small paint brush, for God's sake, that was not 1,000 before. Now they said it's 8,000 naira. I could not buy it. Do you know that Nigerians have resorted to using trying to use watermelon to dry it and do it in place of tomato? Because the price of tomato.
Are you serious?
I'm just telling you what is happening in Nigeria.
Watermelon in place of tomato?
Yes, they dry it and do somehow and use it to cook. This is because the price of tomato is prohibitive. It's prohibitive. If you want to the price of tomato is prohibitive. So the government is so insensitive to the excruciating suffering Nigerians are going through. Yesterday or 2 days back, the members of the National Assembly came up that, we are going to sacrifice 50% of our salary for 6 months.
For 6 months. That's crazy.
It's laughable. How much is their salary? Less than 1 million. That's not what Nigerians are quarreling about. What we are quarreling is the allowances they get, about 15 million per month.
Yeah.
That is where, if they're taking even 1.5 million, Nigerians will not even complain. We will not complain. But you are taking about 15 million per month. Why can't they cut that one away? Even remove it altogether.
Yes.
Now you go and take 800,000 that you say is your base salary and say, okay, I will forfeit 400,000. That's nonsense. That is an assault. That is an insult on our intelligence, on the intelligence of Nigerians. And these things happen because they take the people for granted. They know that when elections come, they will manipulate their way into the office. As long as they have the money and the power that be, they will manipulate their way into the power. So they don't take the feelings of Nigerians serious. That's why they are insensitive to what Nigerians are saying, to what Nigerians are going through. They are going ahead with any expenditure that pleases them. They bought cars of 160 million per person. They collect all manner of allowances. So it is a government of recklessness by people who are totally insensitive. So I see the budget in that light. You have budget of 7 million. You have now budget of 6-point-something million, making about 34 trillion. How has it impacted in the 7 months that we have implemented? How has it impacted Nigeria? And why are Nigerians going deeper and deeper into poverty?
Poverty.
In spite of this. Where then is the hope that this 6-point-something trillion will affect the quality of Nigeria's life? If 27.7 has not done so, how will 6-point-something do? This is all just in line with their reckless expenditure and selfishness.
This man, Tinubu, is just, as I said earlier, anytime I hear of his name or mention his name from my mouth, I feel disgust. That is what I feel. I feel disgust. Honestly. That man is just, he's just acting like an area boy, a gangster leader. who doesn't listen to anyone other than himself and his praise singers. That is just it. You and I, you've established that fact that he's not actually here. He's not he's not ready to, not that he does not know what to do. He does not. Tinubu knows, we have established that. You've enumerated on that, you've detailed that he actually knows what to do. He knows what to do to make things right. But he's not doing it because that was not his intention for vying for presidency. His intention for vying for presidency was to amass power and wealth, more wealth to himself. Influence and affluence, opulence, everything. He just wanted that, not for patriotic reasons. That guy, we have someone that is unpatriotic in government. He's the #1 unpatriotic citizen of Nigeria. What an irony. The most unpatriotic man ruling over a country. He's supposed to be the #1 patriot. Unfortunately, I consider him right now as the least of Nigerian patriots. He does not even have an iota of patriotism in his veins. That man is really out to damage the country. He doesn't care. Of course, apart from his age, he's probably sick, and probably what is still keeping him. Anyway, even though it's money, I still believe it is God that is still keeping him alive, because with your money, if your time don't reach, whether you like it or not, if you like, make you be Elon Musk, the richest man on earth, money can no longer sustain you. It can only sustain you for a while, but not whatever. So I still believe God is the one keeping him alive. Not necessarily his money. Okay, technically it's money, but ultimately it is God. Huh? So that man is just, he's not clueless. He has clue of what to do or on what to do. But he's just not out to do it because he's just an evil man. He's just perpetually evil. I consider him a reprobate. He can never change. He's just doomed to remain an evil man, unfortunately. So sad, so sad. And it's so disgusting again that we have a National Assembly that is the worst. I rate it as the worst National Assembly we've ever had. We always had this issue of National Assembly playing to the gallery of gallery of the president and the executive, but not on this level. This current National Assembly. This is the 5th or the 6th. Is it the 5th or 6th, Barrister?
Huh? No, this is the 9th.
9th. Can you imagine? We don't how far we have gone, 20-something years now. The 9th National Assembly, for God's sake. The 9th National Assembly is the worst National Assembly we've ever had. They are just a rubber stamp to Tinubu. They are just a yes, sir to Tinubu. Honestly, it's so unfortunate that we have a National Assembly who does it. What do you expect when we have a Senate president who is under criminal charge? Criminal indictment and charge by the EFCC. What do you expect? That is just the problem. National Assembly, this National Assembly is so repugnant and so irritating, so disgusting. It makes complete useless of what democracy stands for. And this is the reason why, that is one of the reasons why I really, really detest this issue, what they call democracy. Nigeria does not, we're not fit, we're not matured enough for what we call democracy. Honestly, unfortunately, our military that are supposed to be the adults in the room are equally children. Equally children, amassing wealth for themselves. They have made them so useless to the nation that every top military brass now is just all they're after now is just that you can imagine now. The other day, I don't know if you watched that video, that clip, where the Senate failed to actually pass a law to improve the military with equipment, with the right equipment. Did you watch that video?
I did.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine what took place there? That in Senate, even the Senate president himself, a corrupt man, a criminal himself, actually was thrown aback by their response. He too was surprised that his colleagues actually turned down the law, a bill, to actually improve, to actually stop to actually make the military to do better, to perform, to give account of their stewardship as patriots.
You have to understand. You have to understand that these budgets are not just brought like that. Before a budget where money will be spent comes, particularly big money, remember that you have to lobby the senators and
Yes.
include their share into that portion. So if anything comes in which prior agreement on what they will get has not been built into that, believe me, whether it is even to save Nigeria, it's not going to pass. It is not going to pass. They will put it aside until you go back and build their interest into that budget. Then you bring it.
Yeah, but that's the reason why it's supposed to pass, because if their interests have not been built, rather it's the other way around. They have already built their interest in the military budget. Have been built. They have built their interest of the House of National Assembly members before it came to. But my problem is, I don't know if you watch that clip, even the Senator Akpabio himself, the Senate president, was surprised. His countenance gave him away that this was shocking to him.
Is because some people have not look the way the thing happens. If a budget comes, assuming a state, for instance, want to borrow money, the Senate has to approve the borrowing. If the 3 senators in that state do not agree, it will not go from the committee to the Senate for approval. It will die there in the committee. It's under their standing rules. So if the budget for the army comes, there is a Senate committee on the army. If you want to do your homework properly, you have to settle them. And if you settle some of them and some did not agree, and they see it on the floor, they are going to make sure it does not go. So go back, if you check well, something or somebody sabotaged that because he felt that his interest was not captured or properly built into the process. If everything is agreed upon, if the process was properly done and everybody's interest was taken, there will be no objection to it. It's as simple as that.
This is corruption at its. In fact, that leads us to the next topic: corruption at its best. At its, I say worst rather, not best. Honestly, okay, that leads us to the next topic, Barrister. Senator Ndume. We all know what happened with Senator Ndume. In fact, I watched that clip. I was actually on my way to the site, driving to the site, and while I was watching it in my truck, so from the beginning to the end of that interview, I watched it. So when he was saying that, I cringed, a sort of, but he was actually saying the truth. Now, I asked you a question. What Senator Ndume said, is it out of patriotism or out of being disgruntled? Is it out of sincerity or being disgruntled? What do you think?
There are 2 ways to look at the comments. And the comment, what he said is not as he has been making comments against the government of Tinubu over time. Now, I do not have any sympathy for him because he is part of the problem. He has been in the Senate as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
In the whole years of Buhari, with all what Buhari did, he did not adopt this attitude that is adopting now. And if you see, they said the presidency has replied him. And if you see what the presidency said, they said, look, you, Ndumeda, has been talking, appearing to be talking on behalf of suffering and poor Nigerians. What have you done? You put your children in the CBN. When you are putting your children in the CBN, in NNPC, and in choice establishment in Nigeria, did you remember the poor Nigerians who don't have the influence to put their children there? So they have very good reasons to show him that it is not patriotism that is driving him to make the comments that he's making. He is part of the problem. Let him sit quiet. Let him allow us who are patriotic, who have not benefited from the corruption, and who are still not benefiting from the, let us talk. People who have skeletons in the cupboard should not come out and be talking as if the cupboard do not exist. Let him keep quiet and let Nigerians who are not tempted by this corruption, let them talk.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. It's sort of honestly, I don't see him as a disgruntled politician. He has been the part of the system. He has been part of the system. A sort of, so when I heard him mention this kleptocracy, that the people in government are kleptocrats, that Tinubu is surrounded or is surrounded by kleptocrats.
What of Buhari? Did he say that when Buhari was there?
Well, when I heard him say that, I just said this man, there's some probably, of course, even in the interview, watch the interview, you notice that he actually gave a reason. He technically and innocently and ignorantly gave a reason why he said what he said. It's sort of because you just see that, you just, by his tone, you just notice that this man is actually disgruntled. He's not doing that of sincerity. He's not doing that of patriotism. It's sort of, so the problem is that he said, I think he mentioned it there, but he didn't know that he was actually mentioning the reason why he's doing what he did. He was doing what he did, a sort of. So he said that he's been limited at, he's a Senate whip, chief whip in the Senate, but he does not have access to the president. A sort of. So that's disgruntlement, a sort of. So that is basically the reason why he's doing what he did. I don't know why he made that statement. If he had wanted to be sincere, wanted to project an image of sincerity to the public, he couldn't have made that statement alone. That singular statement alone had made rubbish of his intention. To do that.
There can be no sincerity on his part. If you want to be sincere and honest, let me give you an example. When Murtala Muhammad came to power, when he became the head of state, he came before the nation and said, look, I did this, I acquired this thing improperly. I have given it back to the state. You have to restitute.
Yeah.
Before your honesty will start. You cannot maintain those privileges and continue to get them while now speaking as if you are speaking for the masses. Yeah. That is an insult to our intelligence, for God's sake. It's an insult to our intelligence. He benefited from anybody who is benefiting from the corruption, who is part of the corruption that is going on in Nigeria. Kleptocrats. Who, apart from the money they are collecting illegally, let me put it that way, a strain on the economy. The influence peddling that they peddle to get their children and their other people ahead of other poor people's children is itself a form of corruption. Anybody who is doing that, getting unwarranted privileges, what right does he have to come and talk against a fellow person, calling what we say a pot calling a kettle black? Let him keep quiet. If he has been outmaneuvered in the sharing of the national cake, let him keep quiet. Let people who have not participated in that loot, let them speak. And there are many in Nigeria speaking, just as we're even speaking on this platform.
Yeah, there is. Anyway, let's move to the next topic. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. We have an upcoming protest, national protest, as I said earlier, I don't know who actually is organizing or who are those people organizing this protest. But I think I've been following recently I started following him when this issue of protest came up. Usually I don't follow him because I have issue with his way of politics and reporting. I see him as corrupt journalist as well, as far as I'm concerned. But that's the topic for another day. So I have reposted it. I've kept reposting the post for the protest, the notice for the protest. Barrister, this protest is coming up on the first day of August. What do you think about this protest? How do you think it is? How viable do you think it is or will be? A sort of, do you see it as something that will be successful? Do you see that something that will be just a one-day thing or something that will eventually spiral into spontaneous and stretchy kind of event? What can you say about this protest?
What I can say about the protest is that it's difficult to gauge the level of organization of this protest. We have heard of it. We don't know the details. We are not even sure of who is organizing and how they are organizing it. We just heard, like other people, that there should be protest from August. Now, I would have expected that the organizers would be more thorough. Nigeria, we have reached a stage where you can get the phone numbers of virtually everybody. Many establishments like the NBA, they send bulk text messages to their members in their thousands. People should be able to send personal text messages to people, explain the rationale for a protest and appeal to them to join. That will be a better way of organizing. The only thing we hear is protest, protest, protest. Now, you have to take into account that the government and the security agencies have been moving in the past 2 weeks on this issue of protest. They have become extremely proactive. I heard the government come out to say that the protest movement is being spearheaded by the obedient movement. You see, they have now turned it into politics as opposition versus government and people who want to drive them out of government. The government always does that so that it will get a higher moral ground to crush anything like that. They have already given it a bad name. That I read today that the government was saying, wait for Tinubu in 2027. If you are not fed up with him, wait and vote him out. Don't come and cause chaos and trouble in the name of protest. So you can see the shape that the government is already taking. If they identify who is who, I don't even know whether some of those people are already arrested. But here in Kaduna, I have seen evidence that security apparatus has been beefed up and is preparing to. I've also seen comments, like in the north here, some imams and other Muslim leaders are already telling them that this thing is not our matter. Don't come out. Don't come out to. They are telling their followers that this thing is not our affair. So they are calling on their followers not to join. I've seen a group from the southeast saying that Igbo should not join. So you see, Nigeria is a complex situation. If you do not organize something well, there's bound to be all these things. In the southeast, they are openly saying that no Igbo man should participate in the rally, in the protest, or whatever. At the end of the day, what I foresee will happen, there will be protests here and there, particularly in Lagos axis, where there's more enlightenment and where people are virtually in urban setting. But it will not be a nationwide issue. And it will not threaten the government. I'm just projecting what I see from what is on the ground, the way the organization has gone, and the way the government is reacting to it. Possibly there will be pockets of protest here and there, but I don't see it as something massive that will overrule the government.
Yeah, I think I share the same opinion with you because, as I said, we've talked about this issue of protest earlier. Even though you and I had less kind of a disagreement on the principle of revolution, the principle to the success that can lead to the success of a revolution, you and I differ on that.
Let me just chip in before you continue.
Yes.
And don't forget, who is the face of the protest? Whom people will rally behind, nobody knows. There must be a figure, there must be a face that inspire people to follow, to rally around. As of now, we don't know.
Yeah, but I think, but Showore is the one because I've been, like I said, most of this whatever it has been coming from him. So far, is the biggest figure that I've seen associated to that, and his platform is really pushing this. I think he's the one, is the arrowhead of this whole thing. I think so. I'm not sure.
Showore does not have the capacity or the integrity to
that is it. That's the point.
A national protest in Nigeria. So I will not follow him. I don't trust him. He doesn't have integrity. He is a greedy person. He is an unreasonable fellow. So he will not inspire Nigerians to follow him. As simple as that.
So, Barrister, when do you think Nigeria is, or don't you think Nigeria is overripe for? Look, Kenya is still, look, do you know, I don't know if you still notice that Kenya, the protest is still on and it's even getting more intense and more violent. Did you notice that? That they are still insisting, these boys, the youths are not living the streets. They are still insisting that the man resign, even when the man has tried to appease them in different angles, rightfully so. They are still insisting that, no, we are done with you, you have to go. So when will Nigerians actually say to, I don't get it. When will Nigeria actually start crying? Because we've been flooded with serious whips that have caused us serious bruises and giving us giving us scars on our skin. Yet we have not even tried to cry. When will Nigerians start crying?
And I will give you the same answer that I always give you, that we are getting to that point in Nigeria. Don't forget, Nigerians have never been subjected to the kind of hardship that they have been subjected in the past 2 years. Just 2 years. There were hardship before, but the level they have sunk in the hardship has been most prominent in the past 2 years. Agitation and voices are rising up against the government. All this will culminate, if things continue this way, in even a revolution, if things continue. But to pinpoint when that will happen, to say in the next 1 year or 2 years, is difficult to say because of Nigeria's complex nature. But we can say with 100% assurance that we are on our way to that.
Anyway, thank you for that. As we round up, honestly, it's so sad. Nigerians, it's so sad. We are in a very, very bad situation. I think it's time, and it's long overdue for us to actually hold our leaders to account. It is time for them to start accounting for their stewardship to us. Honestly, it is time for us to take the bull by the horn. It is time for us to take our destinies in our hands. It is time for us to call a spade a spade. It is time for us to start crying. This is the time. You cannot be flogged, consistently flogged, and you are feeling this pain, intense pain, severe pain, yet not able to cry. You want to cry, but you are resisting the tears from rolling down your cheeks. When will you cry? Remember, cry. When you cry, sometimes it eases you. Sometimes cry can be at least a solution, a temporary solution to your problem. If you have cried before, you notice that when you cry, after you have cried, remember you feel hot. Somebody hurt you or something hurt you or something happened. And after you cry, or even while you are crying, and you are done crying, you feel a level of relief. And at that point, even though you were weak when you were crying, you suddenly become strong. You feel strengthened. You feel strong. You feel courageous to take a decisive step or decisive action. That is what cry does. Cry helps sometimes. So when, as Nigerians that we are, when do we start crying? It is important we begin to cry because we are really, really pained. We are passing through agony. So it is not out of place if we begin to cry. This is the time that we will start crying, I will begin to cry. And that brings us to the end of this show. Once again, my name is JIBRIN, and this is JIBRIN Angle coming to you on Oweleke TV. And we've been having a very robust conversation and discussion with Barrister Austin Manta, a very senior lawyer, a legal analyst, and a public affairs analyst. And he has really done justice to the topics of the day. Thank you so much, Barrister Austin Manta.
Thank you. It's always my pleasure.
All right, viewers, see you again next time. God bless you.